solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. FIS MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide. MoneyGram, bringing you closer. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And Fidelity Bank. Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Monday, the 25th day of May 2020. And of course, I hope and trust that everyone had an enjoyable weekend, restful one. As well, those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, whether you're a cyclist, if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, again, we urge you to be extremely careful. Please ensure that you observe the rules of the road. With more and more businesses starting to open up and operate in the Cayman Islands, you're going to see more traffic on the roads, and that is becoming quite evident now as well. So again, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Always remember, that the life that you save may just be your own. If you're celebrating a birthday today, or if you have celebrated a birthday over the weekend, we want to wish you a happy birthday or a belated one. If you've lost loved ones over the past few days, past few weeks, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these very challenging times as well. Of course, in the United States today, they're celebrating Memorial Day, observing all of those individuals who lost their lives during world wars and who gave their life, made the ultimate sacrifice so that others could be free from tyranny and dictatorships as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that time, our phone lines are open with the beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls, where you can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, you can email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261, where you can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. We have no guests in the studio yet, but after the 8 o'clock news, we will have MLA and councillor, soon to be known as Parliamentary Secretary, Mr. Austin Harris. He will be with us after the 8 o'clock news this morning again, and he will be providing you with updates on what's happening within the government programs, and everything. Meanwhile, we will have our phone lines open for you to call. I will give you an update if you were unable to listen to Friday's press briefing or to follow it up in the press or going on the government website to see the results of it. So the summary, some of the summary information that was that's provided, those who have been tested and are awaiting results are asked to log in through the Health Services Authority's patient portal. And if you're having any difficulty in doing that, then you can contact info@hsa.ky. So if you've been tested and if you're awaiting your results, and of course for many of you, well, for all of you, the results are important. For some, it's important for different reasons. Some of you, it's important in order for you to be able to resume work. So if you are awaiting those results, you're asked to log in through the Health Services Patient Portal. And if you're having any difficulty, contact info@hsa.ky. It was also pointed out that since last week, Sunday, which would have been the 17th, 1,935 tests were run, and that placed the Cayman Islands in the top 10 jurisdictions in overall tests per million of population. So we're doing a lot of testing. We're up there based on our per capita per million of population. Other information provided was that out of 467 additional tests on Friday, there were 8 positives, one contact with a known case, and 7 from community transmission. 359 tested negative. And it was pointed out that all positives are frontline staff as well. And the press briefing reads that at Friday the 22nd of May, 2020 COVID-19 press conference, government leaders continued to be upbeat with the screening tests and the results they have produced, while acknowledging that there is community transmission. They emphasize that the numbers currently appear low enough for government to maintain its ongoing momentum to slowly and carefully reopen the economy. Despite seeing positives in subsequent batches of screening tests of frontline staff, the results are in line with the expectations of the medical experts. No one has attended a clinic or hospital with COVID-19 symptoms since the 27th of April, almost a month. There is no cause for alarm despite the positives. Government strategy and plans are working. Even those positives are showing as weakly positive, with the warm weather in the Cayman Islands believed to play a part in keeping numbers low. However, while the positives are currently all asymptomatic, it is all the more important that protocols put in place, such as wearing masks, maintaining social distancing, and respiratory hygiene practices are strictly followed. And that was underscored by all of the leaders present at the press conference. Participating in the press conference on Friday were His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, Premier, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, and Health Minister, Honorable Dwayne Seymour, as well as Chief Medical Officer, Dr. John Lee. And of course, Dr. John Lee then reported that out of the total of 129 positives in the Cayman Islands, only 67 are active cases. Let's read that again. Dr. Lee reported that out of a total of 129 positives in the Cayman Islands, only 67 are active cases, of which 12 are symptomatic. 55 are asymptomatic, none hospitalized, and 61 recovering. Only time can provide a fuller scientific understanding regarding asymptomatic persons as well as the island's immunity profile, he said. It is also possible for persons to get the virus twice, since the overall immunity for coronavirus infections does not last long generally. This is another area the scientific community will learn more about as time goes on. There have been no positive cases amongst the construction industry. Personnel tests results so far. More results are awaited from the 1,600 tests done in this sector. No pockets of concern are seen, and the reopening of the construction industry remains on track. Additionally, the screening tests are limited currently to those industries that the government is concentrating on reopening in each suppression level, and are not being made open to general employers seeking to have specific employees tested. Temperature scanners are not said to be of great use in the Cayman Islands with the current strain of COVID-19. During the press conference, the Premier reiterated the need for patience and said testing will continue to delineate the way forward. The Premier explained that during soft curfew, persons are only allowed out on Sundays for two reasons: going to pick up food at restaurants, as well as going out to exercise. International postal services have resumed to the United States, and there was a release that was published in that regard as well. Rules for allowing work permit holders to return to work were also explained. And the penalty fee waiver have been extended for May for the Water Authority, and those were things that were published as well. And I will give you more in terms of those press release with the Water Authority and the work permit holders return to the Cayman Islands. Time for us to take a commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Avida Eluda Bodden Forbes, 1894 to 1986. Eluda Bodden was born in East End. During her childhood, when medical services were very limited, she was always interested in helping her mother to care for the sick. At the age of 22, she married Ebenetus Forbes of Breakers, with whom she eventually had 8 children. After starting her own family, Eluda volunteered to be a midwife, and she traveled to many districts on foot or on a donkey or horse to deliver babies. Sometimes she would leave home a week prior to the due date to help prepare for the birth, and she stayed up to 8 days after the birth cooking and caring for the new mother's family. When she was at home, Eluda made thatch rope, baskets, and brooms. Brooms were her specialty, and she received requests for them from the United States and Canada. She was the last known Caymanian to make castor oil from the oil nut that was grown locally. She knew many different herbs, which she gathered from the bush and made into medicine for her patients. In hundreds of deliveries, she never lost a child or its mother.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
With no vaccine, with no cure, our current solution is keeping our distance and staying at home. We stay at home to keep safe, to reduce harm to others. We stay apart while out and about, space between life and death. We keep our distance 6 feet apart because 6 feet apart is better than 6 feet below. We stay at home because it takes upwards of 40 nurses, doctors, laboratory technicians, housekeepers to care for one COVID-19 patient. Diagnosis, intubation, extubation to full recovery. 40 healthcare professionals and their families at risk while taking care of one COVID-19 patient. Breathe easy. Keep your distance. Stay home. Don't risk you. Don't risk others. This is Rotary Central saying, live to breathe, breathe to live, because breathing is everything.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Recent worldwide events bring into focus the need for quality healthcare. Your life is meaningful. Your health is no laughing matter. Cayman Pharmacy Group strives to make your health their concern. Recognizing the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care with one-on-one counseling, West Bay Pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, and CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Visit CaymanPharmacy.com for more information. Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, seaboard.
FIS MoneyGram is pleased to announce their Shedden Road location will be reopening for money transfer services effective Monday, May the 4th. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, MoneyGram on Shedden Road will be open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, servicing customers with A through K surnames on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and customers with L through Z surnames on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. To ensure social distancing requirements, customers are required to make an appointment on their days by WhatsApp or texting 928-5130. That's 928-5130. MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, but we will have MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris in the studio with us after the 8 o'clock news. Meanwhile, I'm providing you with a summary of Friday's press briefing. And before we went to the commercial break, I pointed out that international postal services have resumed to the United States. And that was published in a release. Rules for allowing work permit holders to return to work were explained. And we have some information on that as well. Penalty fee waivers have been extended for May by the Water Authority. And we have, I will read you the press release in relation to that, because I'm sure that this one is really of interest to many of you, not to mention the fact that also the return of work permit holders will be of importance also, especially to those of you who are employers. So the press release reads that to further assist customers facing financial hardships during the coronavirus pandemic, the Water Authority Cayman will waive penalty fees for May 2020. This is in addition to waived penalty fees for the month of March and April 2020. The authority has also developed a COVID-19 payment deferral policy to assist persons who may be temporarily out of a job due to the pandemic. If a customer has been impacted, please contact the Water Authority about the deferred policy via email, and you can do that by writing to info@waterauthority.ky. I will repeat that, info@waterauthority.ky. The authority's offices remain closed. However, customers seeking to make payments can do so online by visiting www.waterauthority.ky and clicking the Pay My Bill button on the homepage online via local banks or by check using the authority's drop box at its red gate offices, right? Customers that need to make cash payments can do so at the counter of their local bank branch or the designated post office as well. And also customers can still conduct business with the authority electronically. The customer service team can also be contacted by emailing info@waterauthority.ky as well. So there's all of the information for you in relation to the penalty waiver. Let's see if I have enough time that we can talk about the work permit issue as well. Okay. Okay. To assist, the Premier pointed out that in the interim, to assist the process for persons seeking to return to the Cayman Islands, these are the steps that have to be followed. One, persons must register their intent to travel to the Cayman Islands by contacting Emergency Travel Desk via the web at www.explore.ky/travel, or you can email emergencytravel@gov.ky, or you can telephone 345-244-3333. Approvals are subject to a number of conditions, and here are some of those conditions. Confirmation that the employee works for a company that has resumed business, and that the physical presence of the employee is essential and required. I will repeat that. Confirmation that the employee works for a company that has resumed business, and that the physical presence of the employee is essential and required. Another condition: checks will need to be done to ensure that the employee's permit is active, has sufficient time left on their work permit, and that the employer is in good standing with business licenses, relevant health insurance premiums, etc. 3. Confirmation there is adequate capacity at the government-run isolation facilities to house the employee on arrival. 4. The availability of flights. 5. If the employee is deemed eligible to return, the employer must confirm that they will be responsible for the costs of the isolation stay and will pay it up front. That they will also be responsible for the cost of additional isolation if their employee tests positive at the end of the 14 days. 6. Confirmation that the employee also has secured private accommodations and the ability to pay for that accommodation after isolation is necessary to avoid reliance on government. And also, as a side note, with the passage of the Immigration Transition Law amendments in April, new work permit applications and work permit renewals are subject to advertisements on the Jobs Cayman website. So that's that. We reached the top of the hour, but I think I have enough time to say good morning to Mr. Austin Harris and say to him, welcome to For the Record, Mr. Harris. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, OC. Have a special good morning to the listeners tuned in. A pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much, folks. Top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. When we return, the conversation will begin with MLA and Parliamentary Secretary, Mr. Austin Harris. So please stay tuned.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 7:59.
Ordering takeout for the entire family can get tricky.
But with hundreds of menu items, ordering online with Baymarket Cafe has never been easier.
So whether one person wants a burger, another a teppanyaki bento box, while a pizza has also been requested, you can get it all from one place.
Order in advance. Head to our express dedicated deli line, get your order, and go. Find our menu and start your order at baymarket.ky.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. With the island slowly reopening, some may be asking what the procedure is for returning work permit holders. The government says a travel helpline is transitioning from the governor's office to CBC, and the processes are being revised. However, in the interim, the process for those seeking to return to Cayman requires a number of steps. That person must register their intent to travel with the Cayman Islands by contacting the Emergency Travel Desk by the website exploregov.ky/travel or by emailing emergencytravel@gov.ky. The requests for permission for work permit holders and non-Caymanians to travel to the Cayman Islands are considered and decided on by the Deputy Premier's office. And approvals are subject to a number of considerations, including things like confirmation that the employee works for a company that has resumed business. Checks will need to be done to ensure the employee's permit is active. They have to have confirmation that there is adequate capacity at the government-run isolation facilities to house that employee on arrival. There has to be available flights. The employer must confirm that they will be responsible for the cost of the isolation stay and pay it up front, and they will also be responsible for the cost of additional isolation if their employee tests positive for COVID-19 at the end of 14 days. Finally, there must be confirmation that the employee has secured private accommodation and has the ability to pay for that accommodation after isolation. As a side note, with the passage of the Immigration Transition Law amendments in April, new work permit applications and work permit renewals are subject to advertisements on the Jobs Cayman website. This will make sure Caymanians registered with work are aware of the jobs that are available, and Caymanian job seekers will have an opportunity to apply and have the first preference for those jobs. In other news, the Office of Education Standards publishes the follow-through inspection report conducted recently at Wesleyan Christian Academy, revealing, quote, weak progress made since inspectors last visited in May 2019. During the follow-through inspection, the inspectorate evaluated the progress that has been made in the school addressing their 5 recommendations. The inspectorate judged that there had been, quote, weak progress overall. Since the inspection in May of 2019, the school has seen some changes to help address the recommendations identified in the report. They've appointed a school advisory board to support the principal, and the principal and staff had enhanced and extended the offering of Beyond the Pace lessons and added 2 science courses to the curriculum. There's also a science resource room that's been set up to store resources that were accessible to teachers and students for supporting teaching in science, and the pastor has supported the students spiritually. Despite these developments, progress implementing most of the recommendations from the last inspection have not been strong. The 5 recommendations were to raise standards in a high school, raise attainment and progress in science, improve teaching, learning, and improve the curriculum. You can find a link to the full inspection report on the Radio Cayman Facebook page. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Jerry Smith. The Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has lifted the nationwide state of emergency imposed to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Mr. Abe said the Japanese authorities had met their own stringent requirements to lift the measures that have been put into place. India has partially restarted domestic air travel as part of its efforts to gradually return to normal after 2 months of coronavirus lockdown. But dozens of flights were cancelled, stranding thousands of passengers. Some of the major religious sites in Iran have been reopened for the first time in 2 months after they were closed to try to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Worshippers flooded into the Imam Reza shrine in the city of Mashhad. Coronavirus lockdown restrictions have been eased in Spain's biggest cities, Madrid and Barcelona. Residents are now allowed to meet in groups of up to 10 people, subject to physical distancing rules. Germany's High Civil Court has ruled that Volkswagen must pay compensation to a plaintiff who'd bought one of its diesel cars fitted with emissions cheating software. The plaintiff will be partially reimbursed for his VW, with depreciation due to usage taken into account. People with albinism in Uganda say they're at increased risk of skin cancer because they're unable to buy sunscreen due to the coronavirus lockdown. Those living with the condition in rural areas say travel restrictions prevent them from travelling to the capital, Kampala. BBC News.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
With no vaccine, with no cure, our current solution is keeping our distance and staying at home. We stay at home to keep safe, to reduce harm to others. We stay apart while out and about, space between life and death. We keep our distance 6 feet apart because 6 feet apart is better than 6 feet below. We stay at home because it takes upwards of 40 nurses, doctors, laboratory technicians, housekeepers to care for one COVID-19 patient. Diagnosis, intubation, extubation to full recovery. 40 healthcare professionals and their families at risk while taking care of one COVID-19 patient. Breathe easy. Keep your distance. Stay home. Don't risk you. Don't risk others. This is Rotary Central saying, live to breathe, breathe to live, because breathing is everything.
The efforts of those working behind the scenes are crucial to sustaining our community. Groups like the Needs Assessment Unit are often misunderstood and unappreciated. Like the roots of a tree, they hold us up, keep us fed, and without their dedicated diligence, we would simply topple over. To the civil servants of the Needs Assessment Unit and all of the men and women in our social services network, on behalf of all those in our Cayman Islands who rely upon you, you are appreciated. Hashtag Cayman Strong.
Helping children cope during this pandemic is important. Remember, dealing with the outbreak calmly provides your child with the best support. Lead by example and take care of your needs too. To support your child, listen and acknowledge their fears and questions. Provide clear information and be aware of your own reactions. Help children by creating new routines, limiting their exposure to media, and encouraging them to talk about what they've seen and heard. For free and confidential support, call the Mental Health Helpline weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 1-800-534-MIND. That's 1-800-534-6463.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, wellness and happiness.
Change your thinking. Change your life. Mastering the art of communication can open doors for you.
As Susie Kassem wrote in her book, Rise Up and Salute the Sun, we cannot control the way people interpret our ideas or thoughts, but we can control the words and tones we choose to convey them. Peace is built on understanding, and wars are built on misunderstandings. Never underestimate the power of a single word, and never recklessly throw around words. One wrong word or misinterpreted word can change the meaning of an entire sentence and start a war. And one right word or one kind word can grant you the heavens and open doors.
Change your thinking. Change your life. These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman. Health, wellness, and happiness.
Radio Cayman's Cayman Strong Series was brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman. Health, wellness, and happiness.
A pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 84 degrees. Relative humidity is 86%. The barometric pressure is 29.83 inches and rising. The wind is southeast at 8 knots. Overnight low temperature was 81 degrees. Synopsis indicate a tropical wave over southern Mexico moving further west will support a decrease in cloudiness and showers over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours. Radar images show a large area of scattered showers to the north of the Cayman area, which are moving towards the northeast. Now, the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of afternoon showers, and temperatures will be in the upper 80s today. Your winds will be southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. And for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures will dip to the mid-70s tonight. Your winds will be southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Today's high tide will occur this morning at 10:19, low tide this evening at a minute after 5. The sun will set this evening at 6:56 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:48. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Wednesday morning.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at what's happening on our roads. Coming from the east on Shamrock Road and the Linford-Pearson Highway, traffic flowing moderately. Light to moderate traffic flow coming from the West Bay four-way stop. And looking towards the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions. Moderate flow of traffic on the Esterly Tibbetts Highway as well as North Sound Road. And as we look to Cool Road, traffic flowing pretty good. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, moderate flow of traffic. And on Shedden Road, traffic looking pretty good as it's flowing nicely. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll give you another traffic outlook. Have a good morning. Click it or ticket.
Subway is helping to keep Cayman safe by limiting store openings and hours, offering curbside pickup and delivery right to your door. With 3 locations currently open to serve you: Anderson Square in Georgetown, Centennial Towers in West Bay, and Countryside Shopping Village in Savannah. Subway is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on soft curfew days. Free delivery for orders with a minimum $20 purchase. Delivery times only from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Subway, helping you to enjoy your favorite foods in the safest way possible.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Christian Enlightenment Center is now open for deliveries. Call and order your favorite inspirational books, journals, Bibles, Bible cases, church supplies, stationery, and many other unique items. Christian Enlightenment Center, your complete Christian bookstore and more. To place your order for delivery, text or WhatsApp 923-8050 or email us at ceccenter@candw.ky. Check out our website at christianenlightenmentcenter.com. Browse items on your Facebook page by clicking Shop to view all our collections. Opening hours 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday to Saturday.
A.L. Thompson's has reopened to the public. Shop for all your home and garden needs at A.L. Thompson's in any of 3 ways that suit you. You can come to the store and shop in person. You can shop online for curbside pickup. And you can shop online for delivery to your home. A.L. Thompson's wants to make your shopping easy, efficient, and safe. We offer goods that you need now for your home and yard. For shopping details and procedures, please visit althompson.com.
Home, which should be a haven, can even be less of a safe space during curfew if someone is experiencing child abuse. If you or anyone you know is being abused, help is nearby. For emergencies, call 911. They will redirect your call to the relevant agencies. For general guidelines and inquiries, call the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub, MASH, at 1-800-534-2273 or 945-0545. Alternatively, email mash@gov.ky.
All residents are asked to stay at home unless you have permission to work, have to go to a medical facility, pharmacy, bank, or supermarket. If you must go out, remember to stay at least 6 feet from other persons who are not members of your household. This reduces the risk of transmission, whether or not a person with coronavirus is showing symptoms. Everyone must wear face masks or other face coverings while taking public transportation, inside buildings, or other public spaces. For more information and to view the new regulations in full, go to www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris. I just want to say to you, he's going to give us an update, real comprehensive update on what is happening within government. So we're going to have the phone lines closed off for a while. We will tell you when we will open them up so that there can be some continuity in terms of his delivery with what he wants to share with the general public as well. Mr. Harris, I don't know now whether or not there's a need to include MLA and Parliamentary Secretary or just Parliamentary Secretary from here on, but I will look up what the protocols are in relation to that as well.
All right.
But again, welcome, sir.
Good morning to you, OC. Again, a special good morning to particularly our listeners joining from Prospect, but certainly the wider Cayman Islands. It's a pleasure to be with you in studios. To your point, I think I too am still trying to get used to the new nomenclature of Parliamentary Secretary, which would otherwise be the councillor role that everyone is familiar with as a result of changes that took place in the Legislative Assembly. Your guess is as good as mine as to which one comes first. I would just imagine MLA is just easier off the tongue.
Yes.
But it is a pleasure to be with you this morning, and in particular to, I think, share with the listening audience some of the broad strokes in terms of what the government has been doing, in particular for our people during this very challenging times of the COVID-19 pandemic. I suspect this government is guilty of the same failings as many other governments, where we get caught up in doing the work, and there's been a great deal of work from all of the team, both elected as well as those on the civil service side.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to express my sincere thanks to those teams, persons still showing up to work every day, perhaps even working more than they usually did under normal times, but certainly doing a lot of phenomenal work for the community at large, and I want to thank them all for those efforts. But like I said, the common sin for most governments is that they do the work and they forget to tell the people what they're doing. So I appreciate this opportunity this morning to share, in summary, as you mentioned, what I think is a comprehensive list of the efforts that the government has engaged in since our shutdown on the 17th of March locally, and of course the closure of the ports on the 22nd of March as well. Mm-hmm. If we can start looking at areas in which I have direct responsibility for, that is the Ministry of Community Affairs, who have responsibility for the Needs Assessment Unit. As of the 22nd of May, that is last Friday, some 2,700 families have been provided assistance in one way or the other, whether it be food vouchers, rental assistance, assistance with utilities, burial assistance, or permanent financial assistance. Mm-hmm. 2,700 families, or approximately 10,800 people, have received assistance, particularly on the food voucher side. Just to give you an example of sort of the growth in demand, we've seen a 165% increase in the number of persons that are being provided food vouchers alone We have seen similar increases in demands just in general in terms of our general services, particularly rent, as a lot of people are certainly without a salary and unable to make those payments.
Yes.
When we first initially went into lockdown, some of this information you're familiar with because we chatted about it when we first went into lockdown. But 1,026 persons who received permanent financial assistance also received a one-time stipend of $425, which was made available to that bracket of persons to, get their medical supplies, to get extra groceries, to get things that were necessary for those persons. Persons on permanent financial assistance usually consist of the elderly, persons with disabilities, and likewise. Also in that bracket are our seamen and veterans. 841 seamen and 81 veterans also received the one-time stipend of $425, in addition to their monthly allowance, which they currently receive on a monthly basis of $850 a month. The government also made a one-time stipend payment on the 30th of March to families who are currently in receipt of food vouchers with NAU. Now, this one-time stipend was payable to at the time, the existing NAU clients, which consisted of about 311 families or approximately 1,244 people. Okay. So they receive regular top-ups as clients of NAU, but they would have also received a one-time stipend depending on the number of family members, from between $180 to, I think, a high of $260 to assist also with extra groceries, extra supplies, and whatnot. In addition, the government also offered a one-time stipend to parents who were enrolled in the adoption program. This consisted of a one-time stipend of $250 to assist, again, many young people, whether they live in my home or in the adoption program, certainly out of school, at home, many of them learning from home. And, well, if you know anything about kids, they consume quite a lot, if I just use my son as one example. So certainly we wanted to make life for those adoption parents as easy as possible and give them some consideration. So $250 was made available to them.
That was a one-time.
That was a one-time stipend. There were two additional one-time stipends, whilst not necessarily attached to the needs assessment unit, but they came from two separate ministries. First, the Ministry of Tourism, recognizing that on the 22nd of March, when the ports were in lockdown, a significant number of the populace were negatively impacted. In particular, those persons operating 15-seater buses, taxis, dual taxi and tour buses, or otherwise water sports operators. Through the Ministry of Tourism, a one-time stipend of $600 per person was made available to those operators, which, interestingly enough, many of those operators also then went on to sort of redefine themselves. They went away from delivering people to now delivering food. Okay. A lot of the restaurants that have been open and given exemption status to deliver food, many of those deliveries were at least initially being offered by taxi and tour operators. Since then, as we were chatting earlier on, necessity is the mother of invention. We've since seen some businesses develop, particularly for the delivery services, yes, and by all indications, they're working very well. Finally, through the Ministry of Culture, that is the Honourable Dwayne Seymour, you may have heard on the press briefing several weeks ago that he also initiated a one-time stipend of $1,000 for local musicians, yes, who were also feeling the crunch, unable to work, etc. And by all indications, that has been well received. That was a partnership between the Ministry of Culture and the Cayman Islands Musicians Association. I think I want to give a shout out to Notch, Jean-Eric Smith, who I know worked tirelessly together with the minister to afford that stipend for members, whether they have the Music Association or otherwise, but certainly encouraging it to be made available to members of the Music Association. So that is, I think, some of the broader strokes as it relates to stipends that have been made available specifically from Caymanians, either from the needs assessment directly or through other ministries.
Okay. If I could interrupt for a
Sure.
second. On those one-off payments that were made, in particular, for instance, the taxi drivers,
yes,
we have received several calls to this show and other shows as well in relation to that. And of course, they would have exhausted that amount of money a long time ago.
Yes.
Some of them are maybe involved in deliveries.
Yes.
Some have tried, but it's basically not financially viable for them to do it, the offers that were being made to them in terms of, what they were being paid.
Yes.
And they're curious to know whether or not there will be a repeat of any of these one-off payments.
A very legitimate question, OC, and I thank you for asking it. Certainly the caucus has been meeting quite regularly. We have another meeting tomorrow. Certainly the Honourable Minister of Finance, the Honourable Roy McTaggart, has been developing an economic stimulus plan as it relates to COVID specifically and how we continue to provide services to our community. We recognize that the initial one-time stipend was, when the thinking was we may only be suffered about a month, maybe 2 months of downtime. As we see that time extend itself, albeit that we are quite pleased with, pleased with the development of the virus in the sense that it is still not necessarily widespread. Whilst we have local transmission, we are able, through the contact tracing, to identify, obviously, the sources of that contagion and therefore contain it. But certainly from a standpoint of, we compare ourselves to other countries, for example, that local transmission is greatly reduced. So much so that, excuse me, I think we're in suppression level 3 at the moment, or certainly aiming towards suppression level 3 as we get closer to the 1st of June. So the short answer is yes. We are considering extending those stipends to the Caymanian demographics that we identified, as well as to the non-Caymanian demographic, which I'll touch on in a few moments, simply on the basis that we appreciate that the stipend, to your point, was to cover a specific period of time as the lockdown, in many cases, as the restrictions on certain job categories. Not everyone is back at work yet. So we recognize that, and certainly the Ministry of Finance is looking very carefully at how we can make additional provisions available in due course. I don't believe we've settled on any value as yet, but we have considered extending the existing services that have been previously provided, as well as we are currently looking at some new services. In particular, again, I think in the U.S. they call it unemployment assistance, so persons who are without a salary. Now, I'm not saying the government will pay your salary at whatever previous level it was, but it is considering what a value could be for that additional service that would be made available to persons affected by, again, loss of income. So these are some of the discussions that are presently taking place. But if we look at it, I think from the broad strokes, total expenditure incurred by the Cayman Islands through the 30th of April was $31.6 million. So that's $31 million that we, were earmarked for other things that have simply been reined in and made available for our citizens during this very difficult time. Things like donations, sale of test kits, ticket sales on some of the emergency travel flights have earned us some $3.2 million. So the net COVID expenditure since the 30th of April has been about $28.4 million. Again, it's something the government's proud of. The strong fiscal management of this government, as well as the previous government. We talked about the surpluses. At the time, many people thought of several dozen ways as to how those surpluses could be spent on. But it is because we had that rainy day fund, because we saved, because we were prudent in our fiscal management, that enabled us to be in this strong position. It's a position that is enviable, I would dare say, not just in the region, but across the globe. We haven't had to engage in borrowing in order to make these funding available. But also from a borrowing perspective, because our books are in such good state, it also makes us, eligible for some really good borrowing terms that may become necessary. Certainly, I know the government is looking at a line of credit, which may also be available to meet some of the needs, particularly for those in the tourism sectors, which we don't anticipate opening. I think at last calculation was somewhere the 1st of September. But again, this is entirely touch and go. It depends what the virus does. Depends in particular, not so much what the virus does locally, but as you know, what it does to our major trading partners. The United States, top of that list, is a big concern. We acknowledge that there are other Caribbean islands that have been opening up their borders for tourism or otherwise. I think that is risky at best. But certainly in the Cayman Islands, the priority has and remains to be on saving lives over economics. So we will continue with that ethos until such time that certainly we can resume our economy.
Excellent. We're going to take a commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned. The conversation with MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris will continue, where he's given us an update, a comprehensive update on the activities of the government, and we're even getting a sneak preview into what may possibly come later on as well. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Insurance is complicated. Make your life easier and better protected with comprehensive financial solutions from FIS Insurance Brokers, with plans from life, health, property insurance, motor, public liability, and professional liability insurance. Whether you're protecting your family or your business, leave nothing to chance. Understand your options and protect yourself for the future. Speak to your FIS Insurance Broker agent today, located on Shedden Road by MoneyGram, or call 623-5616.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
All travel is restricted between the 3 Cayman Islands. Anyone wishing to move between the islands must first notify the medical officer of health or director of the sister islands' health services. They must also undergo a 14-day mandatory isolation period at a government facility, as well as mandatory testing. Following a negative test at the end of isolation, they will be transported directly to the airport. For more information, go to www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris. I want to remind you that we have closed off the phone lines, but you can still send us messages. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky if you have any questions or observations in the meantime. And also WhatsApp us 925-3261 as well. Mr. Harris, back to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Again, prior to the break, we talked about some 10,800 Caymanians benefiting from the services either made available through the Needs Assessment Unit or vis-a-vis one-time stipends offered by the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Culture. It would be remiss of me not to use this opportunity to extend a special thanks to the 31 staff members of the Needs Assessment Unit who have been working tirelessly around the clock, going above and beyond their regular call of duty since this pandemic started, to deal with the demand on services that we receive on a daily basis. Hundreds of clients come through the doors or, send emails or make phone calls to NEU every single day. And this is an area that I deal with almost on a daily basis. So, I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes.
In many cases, they're working not only in depressed circumstances, but certainly persons. One of the bigger problems that we're having at NEU that is slowing down our ability to deliver on the services that are needed is incomplete applications. In some cases, persons are sending in an application with simply their name, their date of birth, and their contact number, but nothing else. And because our system is designed based on income levels, if you don't provide things like what your rent is, what your grocery bills are, what your utility bills are, the system itself can't determine, where the deficits are and what services or additional support persons would otherwise need to receive from the government vis-a-vis the Needs Assessment Unit. So that's the importance of filling out the application. We have relaxed a lot of the application requirements for additional documentation, things like bank statements, things that are a bit harder to get these days. But even with those relaxed circumstances, we are still seeing difficulty of persons submitting applications. To give you an example, I think last week there were some 317 applications received. 285 of them were incomplete. So only 51, give or take, could be approved within, the 5 or the 7-day window which we've given. The normal process is 10 working days. We've tried to reduce that time because we appreciate that the needs are significant, but we can only work as fast as the information we have on hand provides. So again, I encourage members of the public who are seeking to access needs assessment services to fill out the application. It is a short process. It consists of 3 pages, or 2 pages if you use front and back. The information requested is absolutely necessary. It wants to know what your monthly expenditures are combined or compared to what your income is, so that we can then determine what services best suit your needs and how quickly we can deliver on those services.
Okay. Question there.
Yes.
What process then do you have to go through when you receive those incomplete applications, and what advice can you give to people if they're having difficulty completing them themselves, finding a family member, going to some civic organization that may be able to help them, they're members of the Legislative Assembly or whatever? What advice can you give to those persons?
Certainly, sir. Another great question. I would definitely say that the absence of the completed forms and requirements create difficulties and delays in receiving those services. If you have questions, NEU has established an email hotline, nauinfo@gov.ky. We have seconded, I think, let me see if I can get the figures correct. We have redeployed an additional 19 persons to assist NEU. That's additional 19 persons to support the existing 31 members of the NEU team. These persons are answering phone calls. These persons are responding to emails, but they are also assisting persons who come in person. Many persons come to NEU. Sometimes they have questions. We have persons working outside, providing answers to persons who are, joining the line. We find out, are you here to apply for services, or do you have questions on services? And again, we provide those services. Outside of that, certainly we are in single member constituency mode. So every individual should know who their MLA is. And again, it's just as easy to pick up the phone, call your MLA, express what challenges you're having, and have them work on your behalf. So those are some of the elements that are made available to persons, and I would strongly recommend that they use it. There are a number of additional numbers. I think the NAU number, the main line is 9460024, but there have been at least, I think, 10 additional sort of cell numbers that are being provided. They're 9361 through 9. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but certainly if I either receive them before the show is over or after the show is over, I'll send them to you. But as can be expected, the 9460024 number becomes quite busy. So when that number is busy, we have other phone lines that are manned by some of the redeployed staff that are dedicated to answering those questions that persons requiring services may have. And certainly, I think they've been doing a phenomenal job thus far.
Okay.
Again, family members are a useful tool. A lot of persons have difficulty understanding the form. You can have somebody else fill out the form for you. They'll ask you the questions, you give them the answers, and they'll fill the form out for you. That's also been very useful to the entire process. Moving away from, well, first of all, before we move away from NAU and services for Caymanians, one important statistic that has certainly developed or we've witnessed is that according to the statistics, again, for the 10,800 people that we have provided assistance since the pandemic began, a startling number, or as much as 60% of the applicants are being identified as 55 years or older.
Wow.
So I think that's a significant category. Now, it speaks to retirement planning. It speaks to the importance of things like pensions, which, of course, are now being made available for a withdrawal. If you don't have a pension, you can't take advantage of the withdrawal.
Precisely.
But again, whilst I join the government in making that withdrawal available, I continue to maintain the importance of having a pension, specifically for retirement. In many cases, persons won't have an income whatsoever when they retire, and this pandemic is proving that point, that 60% of the applicants coming to NAU during this time are 55 years or older. It highlights clearly that more needs to be done for our elderly population. I recognize the important work of the Elderly Persons Council, and certainly my Ministry of Community Affairs are looking at ways to provide for that sector outside of NAU for the other times when there isn't a pandemic, but when those needs arise, and how do we meet those needs for those individuals directly impacted. But that's an interesting statistic that will certainly guide the government in some of its policy and decision-making going forward. Additional support has also been provided for non-Caymanians in need. This is not a service provided by the Needs Assessment Unit, but in collaboration with the Ministry of Community Affairs and the Ministry of Employment vis-a-vis the Department of Work. As of April 1st, a one-time stipend of $150 was made available for work permit holders who had expressed an immediate need. Again, in those in those early days, the immediate need was food, and we wanted to make sure persons had their essential needs met. So 591 foreign nationals applied for that one-time stipend of $150. The top three nationalities taking advantage of this service were 156 people from Nicaragua, 136 people from the Philippines, and 84 people from Jamaica. Rounding off, I think, category number 4, but coming in very close, is also Honduras at 51. What is interesting about those demographics, as you noticed, was that they are the persons, particularly the Nicaraguans and those from the Philippines. In Nicaragua's sense, those are the ones that, tried to leave, but then Nicaragua closed down their borders, and now they're fundamentally stuck. They can't go anywhere. But it also speaks to not only the immediate need at the time, but to your earlier point as well, that those needs continue as time marches on, and we need to consider, what else can be provided to these persons. Likewise, I'm grateful to His Excellency the Governor and the Emergency Travel Hotline for certainly facilitating, after much delay, but certainly a considerable amount of effort, flights to London and then on to the Philippines. That is presently available, and persons can certainly contact that hotline for those numbers. But they, too, were also stuck because their borders were closed.
Yeah. One interesting point in this, and I'll ask you to share that with the audience, and then we'll take a break, was the breakdown in terms of categories of work for those non-Caymanians, what services they worked in.
Again, another interesting statistic that had identified itself. The top category of jobs that were impacted were in the food and beverage service. 25% of the applicants worked in that sector of the industry. Likewise, a very close second, line cooks at 24%, and then janitorial services at 14%. When I look at the first and the second category, it's easy to see how these were impacted by the closure of the tourism sector. Whether you are a food and beverage server in the hotel, obviously you had no job. If you're a line cook in a hotel, you had no job. But we also saw a number of shutdowns in restaurants. Now, thankfully, a lot of those restaurants providing delivery or pickup services have been allowed to resume, but not all of them. So we still see persons in those industries impacted by this pandemic shutdown. Janitorial services, again, likewise, no hotels to clean, no rooms to clean. Obviously, those works are negatively impacted. Coming up in fourth place, which surprised me actually, because I anticipated that number to be a lot higher, was those in the domestic helper category. 8% of the 591 applicants fall into that category.
I believe what possibly may have happened there is because those domestic helpers are so close to families that families ensure that they were taken care of as if they were a part of their families, their family as well. We need to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back with MLA Mr. Austin Harris, so don't change that dial.
Recent worldwide events bring into focus the need for quality health care. Your life is meaningful. Your health is no laughing matter. Cayman Pharmacy Group strives to make your health their concern. Recognizing the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care with one-on-one counseling. West Bay Pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, and CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Visit CaymanPharmacy.com for more information. Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
We are open. Visit Puritan Cleaners drive-through off Eastern Avenue, 8 a.m. till 3 p.m., Monday to Saturday. Our Elgin Avenue and Savannah locations will remain closed. However, your items can easily be transferred to Eastern Avenue. Just call us at 949-7104. That's 949-7104 with your request. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Would you like to cancel a work permit that was submitted before or during COVID-19? Are your PR fees due soon and unsure what to do? Want to know the status of a submitted work permit? Email workadministration@gov.ky today. That's worcadministration@gov.ky or visit www.workworc.ky today.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MLA and the Parliamentary Secretary, Mr. Austin Harris. One of our listeners has written in and said, good morning. How realistic is it to expect that businesses which rely on cruise ship tourism can survive until some percentage of cruise tourism returns, sometimes in early 2021? What else can these businesses do in the meantime? How about a few of the larger tour operators, for example, Webster's, Majestic, Tropicana, Kelly's, bid for contracts to provide busing for private schools and some public schools if needed for the 2020-21 school year? Maybe the smaller operators who have buses could be absorbed into the regular public busing circuit, properly monitored, and with everyone wearing face masks, etc., until the COVID-19 vaccine is found. Thank you. He says, Mr. Harris may want to opine on this in his capacity as chair of the Cayman Islands Government Transportation Review Committee.
I think it's an excellent suggestion, and I thank the writer of that message for sharing their thoughts. Certainly, persons, if you may recall, I think it was back in, maybe mid-February, when the 10-point recommendations of the Vehicle and Traffic Committee, which I have the pleasure of chairing, made its 10-point recommendations on ways in which to reduce traffic congestion. And one of those recommendations were to encourage buses for private schools. And I certainly embrace that suggestion. We have seen the advantage of buses in the public school sector. We have seen what certainly summer break looks like in terms of the roadways when schools are out of session. And certainly I've oftentimes opined, being, stuck in morning traffic myself, seeing a number of SUVs, but only two people in them. At least one of them were school children. Yes. So I absolutely would embrace the notion of seeing some recommendations or even proposals from the large bus companies to provide those services when schools reopen. I can also state to the public the recommendations of my committee. Right now, we are in the process of finalizing our presentation and report to government. And if the government accepts, when I say the government, the caucus, we have to present our findings first to caucus. If the caucus and government embrace those recommendations, then certainly the next step would get approval for those recommendations to be reported to the Legislative Assembly, where then all 19 members will have an opportunity to chime in and offer their suggestions, and then leaving it thereafter with the government to institute either all or some of those recommendations as a means of alleviating traffic. But again, when we talk specifically about traffic, I see another opportunity. Whilst I definitely would recommend those large tour operators to get together, come up with a proposal, send that proposal to curfew time at explore.gov.ky. Any reasonable proposal will be reviewed and I believe supported as we get closer to the reopening of schools. But also another recommendation that came from that traffic committee was the notion of working from home or flex time. Yes. Now, prior to COVID-19, the business community, particularly the business community, didn't see much merit in the working from home idea. There were questions about how would it be monitored. There were questions about, how would we ensure efficiency? How do we know a person is working as opposed to doing some gardening work, et cetera, et cetera. But we've seen technology, whether it be through Zoom or certainly, again, necessity in our present time, that working from home has proven to be extremely effective for businesses. It has not negatively impacted businesses, but I think the opportunities and the plus sides for businesses, not just in reducing the number of cars on the road, but business expenses. Now a business doesn't have to, lease significant amount of square footage to employ, staff desks. That's a business cost reduction that they can put either in salaries or expanding their business, etc. So I think that there are a number of opportunities, and in particular the 10-point recommendations that came out of my committee, who again I continue to express my heartfelt thanks to my committee members, because by no means have I done it alone. Not at all, not by any stretch of the imagination. But through the dedication and hard work of my fellow committee members, I think we've come up with a solid 10-point plan that I'm anxious to, again, have presented to the caucus and thereafter the people of the country, because I believe out of this crisis has come opportunity for us. I think I read somewhere it's an opportunity to reset the clock, if you will, in a number of ways. Employment, particularly of Caymanian employment, is another area that I'm very keen to seeing opportunities made available. And I'll use this opportunity to remind particularly Caymanians who are unemployed of the viability of our tourism sector. We see a lot of people, particularly foreign nationals, going home because hotels have closed. I would very much like to see, before we reopen those sectors, that we create opportunities for our Caymanians to participate in, whether it be more taxi or more bus operators, whether it be bellmen, whether it be front desk operators, whether it be, pool attendants. There are jobs that are available, are very lucrative for those persons who hold them, and anything has got to be better than standing in line at the needs assessment unit. All right? Yep. And that is by, earning a living, out of money that you made. And there are a number of viable jobs in the tourism sector that I'm most interested in seeing. We're starting to see a return of work permit holders, specifically in financial services. Largely, I will say that to the people. When we started to allow work permit holders to return, it's important to specify what industries they're returning to, the professional categories. And financial services, we can't afford to drop that ball in particular. The goal number one in financial services is to get off the blacklist.
We're going to rely heavily on that.
And we are going to rely heavily on financial services. Financial services contributes over 50% to GDP. That's salaries, that's wages, that's income for a great many people. The fees that it generates enables the government to provide the services that we're talking about this morning. So it's absolutely essential that we protect that industry, get that industry as much up as back to running as possible. It's another industry that working from home accommodates very easily. You can still, transact accounting practices, general ledger work from home as you could from the office. Certainly in this present evolution, the push is to get company registrations up. All you need is a telephone line, an email line, a computer, an ability to have a printer. Those are the bare essentials to getting that work done. And we certainly have to encourage that and embrace that because, again, the goal in financial services is to get off the blacklist so we can get on with business as usual.
Definitely.
Just going back to the support for non-Caymanians, 591 foreign nationals have been assisted. We've given you the top categories of those assistance. Again, initially it was a one-time stipend of $150, but like many of the other categories, as the time extends itself, again, while borders continue to be closed, while persons continue to live in depressed circumstances, we are also considering ways in which to continue some of those services as well. It's really a numbers game. How much will it cost us? How much do we need to have available? And certainly, it's a conversation with the Minister of Finance.
Okay. Before we go to the break, very quickly, any comments in relation to what civil society is able to do to sort of ease the pressure on government in this regard?
Absolutely. Another excellent question, OC. When I look at the numbers, when I compare the support for non-Caymanians against the support that is being provided for Caymanians, over 10,000 Caymanians accessing services, and those demands are growing on a daily basis. But only under 600 foreign nationals have applied to government specifically to access services. I don't believe that the non-Caymanians are in any more fortunate position than Caymanians are. But what I do also believe is that the reason why the demands on government services are significantly reduced is because of the important work that's being provided by civil society or private sector. Whether it be acts of random kindness, Meals on Wheels, Feed Our Future, the food banks that are doing some phenomenal work. If I can just point out one restaurant that I'm familiar with, the Wharf Restaurant. From very early days, they started providing 2 meals a day to anyone. They've since sought to increase that to 3 meals a day. I believe a large percentage of the private sector support services are being utilized to benefit our non-Caymanian residents in the Cayman Islands, and that assistance is essential. So I absolutely wholeheartedly thank the private sector for what they have done, what they continue to do, as we all work together to manage this pandemic. But certainly the private sector support has benefited us significantly, allowing the government to focus on Caymanians.
Okay, top of the hour, headline news, 9 o'clock. Folks, please stay tuned. The conversation with MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris will continue after this break.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
For today's biggest news. Access.
Local, regional, international, this is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
Slow progress in addressing 5 recommendations in May 2019's inspection report at Wesleyan Christian Academy. A recently published follow-through report shows that, quote, weak progress has been made to raise standards in the high school, raise attainment and progress in science, and improve teaching, learning, and the curriculum. You can find a link to the full report on the Radio Cayman Facebook page. Dominic Cummings, advisor to UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, is facing calls to resign after he traveled 260 miles during lockdown. Japan is lifting its state of emergency, having brought the virus under control, according to the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The U.S. has imposed travel restrictions on foreign nationals who've been in Brazil in the last 14 days. Cases have grown exponentially in Brazil, and it now has the second highest number of cases globally. The president has repeatedly downplayed the risk posed by the virus. Meanwhile, the U.S. is nearing the milestone of 100,000 deaths. It has already seen more than 1.6 million cases. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris. He's providing us with a comprehensive update on what the government has been doing so far in relation to support during the COVID-19 pandemic here in the Cayman Islands, and we still have much more to cover. We're going to be talking about the government isolation facility, talking about pensions, talking about support provided to businesses, as well as the area of health insurance as well. Mr. Harris, one of our listeners, has written in and said, good morning. God bless you both and the entire government. My question: for a person who is engaged in the beauty salon business and has not had any bills paid, and no income being received, what should that person do? And then they also go on to say, what about the bosses that collect all those pensions those years ago and didn't pay them? I believe those persons are the ones that are, well, some of them are being dealt with through the legal system as well. But to you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you again. Thank you to the listener for that question. I think it provides a great segue to jump to the business support element of what the government is doing. But if I can take the writer's last point, for those unscrupulous employers who made pension deductions from their employees' salaries but failed to make their own contribution and pay onto a pension fund, those complaints can be filed with the Department of Labor and Pensions. I know there are a significant number of employers that are being prosecuted through the legal means. And by all means, if you were one of those employees that can prove that your pensions were deducted, but your employer did not apply them to a pension, then the Department of Labor and Pensions is the place to go. As it relates to, well, first of all, beauty salons, barbers and hairdressers and the like, as the Premier and the Minister of Health have mentioned a number of times, whilst we are seeing through the various stages of suppression levels from 5, the critical stage where we were in complete lockdown, to 4 and 3 where we're presently at and aiming to get to by the 1st of June, we're seeing a number of easing of restrictions, particularly industries that start out, that work outside, for example. That's why the construction industry were viewed as one of the first areas that we can open up. And this was based on the direction of the medical professionals. It's felt that jobs that are operating in the open air outside are less risky for contagion, if you will, than it is for those persons who work, for example, in an office or otherwise. That's why we see the construction industry opening up. That's why we see the NRA going back to work, which of course is also taking advantage of the reduced traffic levels, enabling them to finish a number of the road projects, not least of which the expansion that is taking place in Prospect of the east-west arterial from 1 to 2 lanes.
Yes.
That is being benefited by the reduction in traffic, but also, again, the ability to open up that sector. But as the Premier has stated a number of times, it's difficult, if not impossible, to cut hair from 6 feet away. And the social distancing rules necessary for salons and barbershops make it very difficult to open up that sector and still maintain our ethos of saving lives. Now, again, I acknowledge, and we've seen it, that there are protection equipment that these providers can wear, from gloves to masks to face shields, etc., that I think consideration is being given to. But, also, those that do physiotherapy or massages and like what. You can't do these things without touching your client. And the concern and the guidance from the medical professionals is that is one of those categories that will be, I dare say, last to open. And there's no easy way to say that, other than to say that we appreciate the patience and understanding of those who occupy such professions, but it is in the fulfillment of the government's primary objective of saving lives that we're taking this approach. But certainly consideration is being given to those areas. For those persons, whether it be business owners or otherwise, particularly business owners who haven't had the opportunity to open their shops, the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure recently announced a number of relief measures for micro and small businesses. Some $14.5 million out of that overall $28.4 million that has been made available in COVID-19 relief support services will go to the Ministry of Commerce. Through their Cayman Islands Center for Business Development, which was frankly fast-tracked into implementation as a result of the COVID pandemic, and opened on the 23rd of March of this year, presently provides training to cover areas such as smart measures for business continuity, best practices for handling a cash flow crisis, conducting business impact analysis, business model innovation, social media marketing, and online freelancing opportunities. All areas that business owners neither had the time nor inclination to perhaps think about until this pandemic started. But that training shouldn't be shunned as saying, well, what good is training going to help me when I can't open my stores? Well, a lot, actually. If you can manage your cash flow in a better way, many of your staff are foreign nationals, which we know, again, if you have a work permit employee, the first area of responsibility for that individual is the employer. How does that employer effectively manage and provide services for their work permit holders, which again, we see in the domestic helpers, for example, and the small uptake in terms of assistance. I believe that small uptake comes directly as a result of the employers looking after their employees. But not every employer has the wherewithal to come up with these ideas. So again, that training is, I think, real-world relevant training to meet the needs and demands of the present time. So it's very useful to micro and small businesses.
And these are online, usually using webinars?
Yes. Online, Zoom, webinar is the way to go because, again, we're limiting personal contact, social distancing, and likewise. So these services are all being made available through the Ministry of Commerce, through the Cayman Islands Center for Small Business Development that have proven useful to micro and small businesses. But also from a financial or economic standpoint, businesses also have access to grants and soft loans through the Cayman Islands Center for Business Development. And just to give you an idea in terms of the difference between both the grant as well as a soft loan, the grants that are being made available are in the amounts of $1,000 per month. And these grants are earmarked to pay specific fees such as insurance, health insurance in particular, which is mandatory that companies still maintain, rent, salaries, etc., and are relatively easy enough to provide via application to the Cayman Islands Center for Business Development. The loans that are being provided also through the Cayman Islands Center for Business Development comes at a very low and relaxed interest rate. It's interest and principal-free loan until January 1st, 2021.
Okay.
Then it will be a 1% interest rate for the first year. And this is to assist businesses, again, perhaps, those in the tourism sector, those particularly in the beauty sector, which we pointed out again will be last to be reopened. But you still have the same health insurance, you still have salaries to pay. And these may exceed, obviously, the $1,000 per month. So these are some of the opportunities that are being made available to businesses. It's important to share some of the statistics. As of last week, Wednesday, the 13th of May, or not last week, the week before, the 13th of May, government received 291 applications for grants for small businesses, of which 205 were processed, and a further 129 were submitted to be paid, with a further 53 additional applications submitted the very next day. 15 of those applications did not qualify, and 21 have been submitted for credit checks. So there is a process, but there's also a means to assist micro and small businesses with the tools it takes in order to keep those businesses afloat. I definitely want to encourage members of the public, particularly the small and micro businesses. If you want to take advantage of these services, you can find it on a website, which I will give you in just a few seconds here once I pull up the information. It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming, I promise. Yes. www.plahi, which is plahi.gov.ky/portal/portal/MPCOCHOME. Now, I know it's rather extensive.
Yeah, that one is difficult.
Very difficult. It's not straightforward. The easier route is to contact the Center for Business Development. They can be contacted at 244-2498 or 244-3451. And you can also find them at cicbd@gov.ky as an email address. I think that is an easier route than sharing the web address for the small business, for the Center for Business Development. But I will also share, as a matter of fact, I'm going to share it right now, OC. I'm going to send that website on to you.
Excellent.
So that you can share it with your listeners as time goes by as it relates to small business assistance.
Thank you.
So it's just been sent to you.
Okay.
Just staying with small businesses and particularly trade and business licensing as well. In addition to providing training, in addition to providing grants and soft loans, there's also been a temporary waiver of trade and business licensing application fees from May 1st until the 31st of July. Also, any additional late fees incurred from the 1st of March to the 31st of July will be waived for all applicants. This is significant because, according to the data that we have on file, this will benefit some 3,000 small businesses. That's a lot of number. That's a number of mom and pop shops, that are going to benefit from relaxed or waivers and fees, which again is another way that the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure is seeking to benefit the micro and small business community here in the Cayman Islands. But again, take advantage of these services. Contact the Cayman Islands Center for Business Development. I'm happy to provide those numbers again, and likewise, you can also reach out to Mr. O.C. here, who will provide you with the website for that information.
Definitely. We're going to take a commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, with MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris will continue after this short commercial break.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Recent worldwide events bring into focus the need for quality health care. Your life is meaningful. Your health is no laughing matter. Cayman Pharmacy Group strives to make your health their concern. Recognizing the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care with one-on-one counseling, West Bay Pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, and CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Visit CaymanPharmacy.com for more information. Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
We are currently in a soft curfew period in Grand Cayman until 8 o'clock tonight. Persons with surnames A to K are allowed to do banking and shopping on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and those with surnames L through Z are allowed to do the same on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Anyone caught breaking curfew is liable on conviction for a fine of $1,000 and to imprisonment for 6 months. For more information, go to www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris. Before I go back to you, I have one observation. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak to someone who's basically has a small company, 4 persons plus himself employed. So he has 2 teams, 2 trucks, does subcontracting work for a company, for companies, large companies, but also does small work, individual work for himself, his company, for individuals as well. Yes. Has made 2 applications to the competent authority to be able to resume operations, but has been told they can only resume operations if they're working for a contractor as a subcontractor. Now, the work the person is engaged in involves outdoor activity, basically erecting fences. Yes. So minimal or no contact whatsoever with the persons that they're working for, but unable to. So unless the contractor starts work and gets work, that person is unable, but they do have a general trade and business license that allows them to work. A classic example of where someone willing to be able to go back to work, 4 other additional persons will be able to be back on salary but unable to do so. Just one of those cases, and I wonder sometimes whether or not the competent authority is looking as careful as they should in certain circumstances.
Yes. Well, first of all, certainly you mentioned a service that immediately sprung to mind. I need a new fence. So this is a service that certainly I would otherwise be seeking as well. But I will say, in defense of the competent authority, they do review each application very carefully. They are being guided both in terms of the present suppression levels, the concern and the need to maintain social distancing in all areas, and of course by the guidance of the health professionals, Dr. Lee and company. There are many businesses that have submitted a number of what I would consider legitimate recommendations and proposals, but for one reason or the other, they don't receive the blessing of the key criteria that they all have to pass through. Whilst certainly at face value, I would say to you that business would otherwise meet the criteria, particularly as it relates to the outside work. But there may be some area, some fine detailed area that only the competent authority perhaps is more familiar than I am. Yes, yeah. I will simply say...
Could it have something to do maybe with the testing of the employees prior to that, since that is one of the prerequisites?
It could very well be. I think certainly what the major push now is the screening process to get as many people tested as possible so we can get them back to work. I know a number of companies, through their own initiative, have written to the competent authority saying, hi, I want to get ahead of this. I know that my company isn't exempt now, but it is potentially going to be exempt on the 1st of June. Can we preempt those needs? And the short answer is, until the sectors themselves are open and unrestricted, the competent authority isn't authorizing tests to be done. And that's simply done to manage the numbers. Right now we're seeing slowly but surely the number of daily testing increase, and thankfully, the number of positives reducing, which is exactly where we want to be. But we can't obviously have 2,000-3,000 people show up to the HSA or the doctor's hospital at one time, all looking for testing that aren't within the categories that are being unrestricted. Yes. So we just continue to ask for patience. Okay. I know, again, through the support of both the public and private sector, that efforts are being made to expedite and ramp up the number of testing. We have the equipment. We have the test kits, as the Minister of Health recently identified, I think, on Friday. It's just a matter of getting those numbers ramped up. We will get there. I appreciate that doesn't necessarily move as fast as some people would like, but I just ask for your continued patience as we seek to slowly but surely open up the sectors that we can, and to make sure that the resources in testing facilities are preoccupied with those sectors rather than the ones that are coming up in the future. And that's a large part behind that.
Oh, by the way, also the local fishermen who rely on fishing, as an income.
Yes.
They're happy like fish in water.
Yes.
Pardon the pun, but they're happy like fish in the water.
I have seen it as well, and the fish are biting. I'm impressed with the size of particularly the big fish, the wahoos in general. I even saw one guy calling sick for work, but then posted on social media that, he caught a monster fish. I don't know how that's going to necessarily work out with your employer, but hey, as long as you're happy, we're happy for you. Of course, noting the time, OC, I just want to go through 3 final areas.
Sure.
Starting with pension. As many persons in the public domain will know, government has allowed access to private pension funds. A one-time withdrawal of up to $10,000 is permitted, as well as a 25% value of the remaining balance for those funds that have the amount in it. If your fund has $10,000 or less, then those funds are available for 100% withdrawal. For everyone else, you can withdraw up to $10,000 and 25% of the remaining balance. We encourage persons, the pension application forms have finally been vetted and approved, and now persons can access them. Usually they're made available through the individual private pension provider, but likewise the Department of Labor and Pensions can offer guidance and how to fill out these forms and what to expect. I don't want to put too stern of a timeline on this because it varies by fund, but I think what I've discovered is that the average timeline from the approval date, not the date of application, but the date that your private pension fund provider approves your application for withdrawal, it's usually about 45 days, I think, that they're working with for that money to go from fund to your hand. But again, we ask persons to be patient. I think in large part, one of the areas that we'll see perhaps a reduction in the demands on NEU will be as more and more persons take advantage of their pension. And again, the benefit of pensions, if you didn't have a pension account, you couldn't take advantage of this opportunity to sustain yourself for a period of time. So again, another important lesson in the importance of having that pension fund. The government has also introduced changes to regulations that will allow notaries to notarize documents virtually. So you no longer have to do it in person, using the appropriate technology, again, whether it be a digital signature or otherwise. But these services can now be conducted virtually or online for persons who need to fill out applications and require documents notarized. There is also, as you know, a 6-month pension holiday, which everyone will receive. But again, we encourage employers and employees alike, employees specifically to contact their employers and employers to contact their pension providers. They have to opt in. So, it's on an individual basis. So employers need to contact their pension provider and make the arrangement similar to what has been provided with banks in terms of the mortgage holiday.
Yes.
One other question came in. The mortgage holiday was initially for 3 months. And the question of will that be extended? Again, these are individual decisions taken by banks. But I think over the weekend I saw one financial institution, I believe it was Cayman National, agreeing to extend that payment holiday for a further 3 months. So again, individuals with mortgages are encouraged to contact their financial services provider and obviously apply for these payment holidays.
Great.
Likewise, on the health insurance side, temporary assistance for health insurance payments for qualified persons, persons who may not have been able to pay their April health insurance premiums and were in need of assistance, were allowed to make an application to the Department of Human Resources at www.dhrs.gov.ky or emailing hic@gov.ky. I believe the deadline for this assistance expired last Friday, the 22nd of May. I don't have any details, unfortunately, as to the uptake of how many persons took advantage of that, but I can pledge to you, OC, that once we have that information available, I'll forward it on to you.
Any intention of extending that dateline or start?
I don't want to say yes at this point, but certainly as we have discovered on all of the one-time stipends or otherwise assistance, extension in these services are very likely. And again, it just entirely depends on how many persons applied and certainly what the demands are on the various departments that are providing this need. But health insurance, absolutely essential at this time because people still get sick with things not COVID-related. So it's absolutely paramount that we make sure that persons who are in fact receiving health insurance continue to keep those accounts up to date. And I just have one more thing on my list, OC.
Okay, sure.
And this is not necessarily in terms of, it is government services, if you will, but government services on the standpoint of health care. The Government Isolation Facility has operated in conjunction with the government and the National Emergency Operations Center, or NEOC. And it was set up as a government isolation facility, which we again partnered with a local hotel to ensure that all returning residents were quarantined for at least 14 days, keeping our community safe and maintaining our ethos of preserving life. To date, a total of 477 persons have been housed as returning residents at the isolation facilities. These include students returning from the United Kingdom and elsewhere at the hotels. I believe at present there are presently 96 persons housed in the government isolation facilities. Some persons were trying to return to the Cayman Islands last week and the week before, but their re-entry to the Cayman Islands was being delayed by the availability of space. A number of those rooms that were previously made available for isolations have been vacated, whether it be persons testing negative, persons who were recovered or otherwise. So certainly space is available now, and I suspect with that space being available, flights, particularly from Miami, will resume for returning residents. I don't have the details in terms of how many persons will be returning to the islands in any of the other flights, but I do recall from last week Friday, the governor, His Excellency, mentioning that
I think he said that there were two flights out,
but nobody coming in.
Right, and those are on the 5th and 19th of June.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. Just in terms of just completeness, a total of, to date, as of the 23rd of March, a total of 1,498 persons have been on outbound flights from the Cayman Islands going back to their home jurisdiction. And again, those numbers continue to increase. The applications continue to come in to emergency travel and areas, particularly like Jamaica, for example. There's been a significant demand for Jamaican residents to return home. Again, much like Nicaragua and formerly the Philippines, until those borders open up, we're sort of stuck in a holding pattern. Yes. So that is, I think, as comprehensive as an update as I can provide.
Very much so.
One last thing. I promised you a list of information for NAU.
Okay.
In addition to the hardline, the main number of 946-0024, which is the main number for the Needs Assessment Unit in Grand Cayman, persons may also call 244-2426, and in Cayman Brac, they can call 948-8758. Now, we have also added 5 additional cell numbers that will be based on applicants in their alphabetic categories. So, for example, if you have a last name from A to K, and you have submitted an application to NAU, but you want to check on the progress of that application, maybe some time has passed and you haven't heard from NAU, maybe you have questions on the forms that you want to fill out that your email hasn't been answered. Persons with last names A through K can contact 3 numbers. They are 936-0-NAU, which is 936-0628. 936-1-NAU, or 936-1-628, 936-2-NAU, or 936-2-628. And for last names L through Z, or Z, persons may call 936-3-NAU, or 936-3628, and 936-4-NAU, or 936-4628. I have shared this information directly with OC, so you have it.
Yes.
Certainly, persons who weren't as quick to write it down as I repeated it certainly can contact Radio Cayman, Cayman's #1 choice, and get the most up-to-date information. For forms, application forms in particular, they're all available online and can be accessed at www.nau.gov.ky. And again, persons may email questions. They may return the forms via email by emailing nauinfo@gov.ky. NAU is open to the public Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and persons may, of course, visit in person. I will state that one of the things that the government initiated very early on is recognizing that there is a processing time. Any new applications for services to NAU will also benefit from a complimentary food voucher while your application is being processed.
Okay.
So the minute NAU receives your paper application, presuming that the information is adequate and complete, then that person, whilst they wait the 7 or so days for the processing to be complete, will receive complimentary food vouchers so they can sustain themselves whilst their application is being processed.
Excellent. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the phone lines will be open for you if you have any questions, observations for MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris. So please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore.
International Lighting, Ed's Plaza, North Soundway is now open for curbside service and delivery Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. In addition to light fixtures, ceiling fans, rugs, sheet sets, and household items, International Lighting now has a selection of 3-ply masks starting from $1 CI, as well as non-disposable masks, rubbing alcohol, and gloves for sale. For curbside service and delivery, please call 945-7121, 916-8211, 916-3553 or 949-5141. Stay safe, Cayman. Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
We at the RCIPS, National Drug Council, and Radio Cayman are reminding you that a DUI conviction will cost you at minimum $1,000. You could lose your life, license, family, or friends. Collisions are more likely to take place when someone's judgment is impaired by alcohol. Stay safe, stay home, stay alive, Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I just want to let you know that we have opened the phone lines now as well for you if you have any questions, observations to share with MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris. Just want to share something with you from the Port Authority while we have your ear here on For the Record as well. The Port Authority wishes to advise persons with vehicles that have been imported but remain uncleared at the Port Authority Cayman Islands facilities to arrange clearing and collection as soon as possible, as space is limited at the Port Authority property. The number of uncollected vehicles is reducing the amount that can be imported each week, resulting in a backlog of vehicles in Jamaica awaiting shipment to Grand Cayman. For those persons who have vehicles currently in Jamaica awaiting shipment to Grand Cayman, please contact your agent or broker to advise them whether you are ready and in a position to clear the vehicle immediately as it arrives in Cayman. This will help those vehicles to be prioritized for shipping and will assist us with facilitating a regular flow of vehicles to the islands and to customers who are waiting for their vehicles to arrive. The cooperation of vehicle importers is appreciated. So that's coming from the Port Authority. Backlog on vehicles not being cleared. And if you want more to come in, then you have to go through this process now of advising that you're ready to accept and to clear them. We have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Amosi.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Not too bad yourself.
I'm fine, thanks.
And Mr. Harris?
Yes, sir. Good morning to you.
I want to thank you for the good job you're doing and keeping this country informed. I think you're doing a fantastic job. So I just want you to keep the good work up. And I got a couple of things I want to discuss with you.
Sure.
When I came back from the States back in the 80s, I was able to join the Lions Club, right? And I got involved with, I got selected to do all of the necessary assistance to the needed people. And that was part of my job. So every weekend we would go out and, look about repairs to the roof, or whether it was a texture 111, the walls or whatever. Anyway, I did that for about 10, 12 years, and then I resigned from the Lions Club. But recently, about a year ago, I joined the Cayman Seafarers. And I got involved in the same thing. Now I'm doing the repairs. I don't charge any money at all from the seafarers. I have a couple of Caymanians that assist me, and the seafarers pays them a wage for whatever hours they help assist me with. I still do a lot of the work myself in order to keep their costs down as low as possible, but I can't do everything by myself, so I have to get the assistance of a few guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it works really well. But, since we had that rain a couple of days ago, people is calling me. I don't even know if they called Mr. Tibbetts, but they've been calling me. I'm sure they must have called him. And I don't really know what to do. I mean, I told them, I'll see what I can do as soon as possible. The reason I'm calling you, Mr. Harris, is to see what possibilities is there any at all. And, if there's not, well, I mean, I'll just wait till, everything is somewhat back to normal, that we can start assisting these people again. But, it's not a pleasant thing when you have a leaking roof and then the season is coming up now and all your sheetrock is getting wet, dropping down, and it's ruining everything pretty much in your house. So I just want you to keep that in mind. And if there's any possibility that the government can assist in any way, I'm sure through the seafarers, it would be well appreciated. So I'll leave that with you, and hopefully I can hear back from you. My number is 924-3030.
924.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, caller, for that.
Thank you so much, Peter. First of all, thank you very much for your kind remarks. Certainly, we do appreciate it, both myself as well as the rest of the members of the Unity government. And certainly, to your point, I believe that whilst we talk about the construction sectors being reopened, there have been for some time emergency services being allowed specific exemptions. We talked about it earlier on. Well, not today, but in the early days, there were plumbing issues. There were electrical issues, ACs in particular, going out. These companies were provided initial exemption on a case-by-case basis. They would have to, write to curfew time in many cases and to receive that exemption, or they would simply say, listen, I'm a plumber working for company ABC. I'm going to residence, XYZ to meet a specific need, and they would otherwise be allowed that for emergency purposes. I'm not familiar specifically with leaking roofs or some of the areas that the caller references, but I would encourage him. The curfew time has gone from a telephone number to an email address to now a website address, and this is just indicative of the demand that the competent authority is experiencing. Peter, if I can encourage you to write to the website is exploregov.ky/curfew time. Again, www.exploregov.ky/curfew time. And that's all one word, CURFEW time, curfew time. Certainly I will, I have Peter's number. Okay. I will certainly WhatsApp that information to him, And I will also reach out to him personally if there's any questions he might otherwise have that we can provide assistance on.
Excellent. We're going to take our last commercial break for the show, folks. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
FIS MoneyGram is pleased to announce their Shed Road location will be reopening for money transfer services effective Monday, May the 4th. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, MoneyGram and Shed Road will be open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, servicing customers with A through K surnames on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and customers with L through Z surnames on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. To ensure social distancing requirements, customers are required to make an appointment on their days by WhatsApp or texting 928-5130. That's 928-5130. MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide.
We at the RCIPS, National Drug Council, and Radio Cayman are reminding you that a DUI conviction will cost you at minimum $1,000. You could lose your life, license, family, or friends. Collisions are more likely to take place when someone's judgment is impaired by alcohol. Stay safe, stay home, stay alive, Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're in the last leg of the show this morning, have less than 15 minutes left with MLA and Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Austin Harris. One of our listeners has written in and said, good morning. Can Mr. Harris confirm what the status is with with construction reopening? I'm still a bit confused as to where that is at.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you to the listener for their question. I'm going to go from memory on this one, from one of the many discussions we had on the subject. I believe the initial opening in construction sectors included those jobs, for example, that are close to being completed, particularly those jobs, if you will, that are in the final stages of receiving their certificate of occupancy, but they have just the final remedial closing works to be done. Those will be the ones to be open first, as I understand it. This relates to a number of smaller commercial projects as well as individual family dwellings, excluding duplexes. So duplexes, for whatever reason, are not included in that initial opening. But in particular, those that are nearing completion, those that are, again, only one or two stages away from receiving their final certificate of occupancy. The plan will be, of course, as things progress, I think we get closer to June 1st, to expand those construction sites to some of the both small to medium-sized sites, and then further on to the larger sites. I don't have, regrettably, any more specific information with regards to that reopening of those sectors, but certainly I will pledge to get that information for you, OC, and I will share as much detail as possible for you, so that you can further update and guide your listeners onto the specifics, specifically as it relates to the sectors in construction that are being reopened, both now as well as tentatively planned for the 1st of June.
Okay. Well, one of the areas that you and I spoke about offline had to do with the new private sector recovery program that has been established with DART providing the seed money. I think it was of $1 million, and prepared to match up to $4 million. Once that has been created as well. And how is that program likely to operate to ensure that we don't have duplicity, as well at the same time, working in opposite directions rather than trying to achieve one common goal in terms of assistance?
Absolutely. Well, again, another very good question. And I think in this instance, credit certainly belongs or goes to NEOC, the National Emergency Operation Committee. Because there are a wide number of initiatives, both public sector and private sector, being delivered across the community for Caymanians, non-Caymanians, residents, and non-residents alike, the National Emergency Operation Committee is in fact coordinating those efforts and their human cluster elements. So they're the ones ensuring that whether it be Resilience Cayman, which I think is a chamber-led initiative in the private sector, whether it be the DART initiative, which you pointed out, has been seeded with $1 million, and DART will match any subsequent donations up to $4 million. So we're encouraging businesses or persons, with the means to contribute to this fund. It will be, obviously used for wider relief efforts, whether they be human efforts or elsewise. However, best to utilize those monies based on need. But it is largely NEOC that will be coordinating these efforts in order to ensure that there isn't duplication. I think it's a valuable service and one that should not be underscored at all. But certainly want to say a big shout out to Ms. Danny Coleman, who runs hazard management, which of course NEOC falls under as the lead unit, if you will. I think they're all doing some tremendous work. They do, I think, twice daily meetings, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, every single day. So they're keeping track of the services that are being delivered both in private and public sector. We're keeping track of the persons who are withdrawing from pensions, for example, against and comparing those persons making withdrawals from pension against the list of those persons who receive NEU services, obviously with the view so we don't allow double dipping. But more importantly, as we acknowledged earlier on, that demands on NEU continue to increase on a daily basis, but we want to make sure that only genuine persons with sincere needs are being met through NEU, and in particular to also avoid persons drawing down on their pension but still continuing to receive NEU services. Just on NEU, just one final point that I cannot underscore enough, and that is, again, as we talked about, whilst we have seen significant demand on NEU services, significant amounts of applications, as much as 70% of the applications received are still incomplete and therefore cannot be processed immediately. These are the things that are leading to the delays. We are asking the public to cooperate with NEU and the team and having their forms completed correctly, in addition to the supporting documentation, to double-check phone numbers to ensure that the follow-up information provided is in fact correct. This particular issue, persons put down phone numbers, for example, that are disconnected. So when NEU goes to call you back, the numbers are no longer valid. In other cases, again, I encourage people to answer their phones. Most people don't answer, calls from strange numbers. But those calls coming in could be from NEU. If you don't answer your phone, obviously it also delays the process. They will leave a message, they will try to call back, but we encourage persons to answer the phone and also make sure their contact details are up to date.
And if I could add to that too, those persons who are sending in incomplete applications, if it has to do with their inability to complete the form, that is one thing. If it simply means that they're trying a thing and say, let me put an application in and see what's happening, what will happen with it, then they're taking away valuable time from NAU staff being able to process genuine applications as well, by correct. Clogging up the system.
That is absolutely correct. Important proof. Now, again, NAU services are restricted to Caymanians. There are services, as I mentioned earlier, that are available to non-Caymanians, non-residents. That is a separate service. But the applications that I'm speaking of, it is important that Caymanians presenting to NAU provide proof that they are Caymanian. That proof can be in the form of a passport, a voter's card, or any Cayman status documentation. If you're a resident, you receive permanent resident Cayman status. You have something to identify that Caymanian status. Other documents usually required in the process have been relaxed, but there are some documents, proof of your immigration status is paramount. And another area that affects both utility and rent. NAU cannot process utility requests unless they have a bill in which to go off of. So you'll use your recent bill that you received. You have to submit a copy of that recent bill with your application so that it could otherwise be supported. Likewise, a request for rental assistance cannot be provided unless you have both a lease agreement with your landlord as well as up-to-date landlord contact details. Not just the name of the landlord or the address of the landlord, but you need to provide either a telephone number or an email address, and again, a certified lease agreement that is signed by the tenant and the landlord, which obviously stipulates the period of which that lease goes out. That has to be provided in order to successfully have your rental assistance application approved.
Okay. One of our listeners has written in and said, good morning, I have a friend who needs to return to the island. He has his residency by paper, so he would like to, even if he has to pay his own quarantine on his return. I guess what that person will need to find is a flight coming to the Cayman Islands. That's
the first thing.
Yes.
Again, emergency travel continues to be managed by the governor's office. I believe that contact number is 244-3333. If memory serves correct, or they can write to emergencytravel@gov.ky. Again, 244-3333 is the number, and I'm just checking it against what I know. Let's see here very quickly. Emergency travel. Yes, 244-3333. So if you have persons wanting to return to the Cayman Islands, you would certainly reach out to the Essential Travel Hotline, and they will provide those details, and they will certainly inform you as to what flights are in fact available.
And what I can share with that listener also, they didn't indicate what part of the world that the person was coming from, but at the press briefing on Friday, the governor also pointed out that those wishing to return to the Cayman Islands on any future British Airways Airbridge flights from London, and one is planned for June, although no dates were confirmed at the time, that they could contact the Cayman Islands government office in London to register for the flight by calling that office directly at +44 207 491 772 or emailing info@cigo.uk.ky as well. And like I said earlier, he also pointed out that there are 2 outbound Cayman Airways flights to Miami scheduled for the 5th and the 19th of June, but at that point in time, there will be no passengers returning on those flights. So a lot will depend on, the person has indicated that the person is coming from Jamaica. I think that one is going to be very difficult because Jamaica has not opened their borders to, they have opened them because they continue to get deportees from the U.S. Yes. They have opened it for cruise ships, 1,044 passengers off the Carnival Adventure, one of those that's docked at Falmouth now. Oh. And they're allowing, I think it's 200 passengers at a time to disembark between 48 and 72-hour intervals.
Okay.
Some of those persons who are testing negative are allowed to join their families, but they have to self-quarantine, while others are taken who are testing positive are taken to quarantine facilities as well. But Jamaica looks questionable, and not to say that the government would be thinking along those lines, but remember, Jamaica hasn't been too cooperative with the Cayman Islands when it comes to repatriation as well, and we would have thought and expected more cooperation from Jamaica, considering the historical as well as economic ties that we have. Right. But Mr. Harris, I think I have enough time for you to give some closing comments as well.
Certainly, sir. OC, I just want to thank you again for this opportunity to share, I think, some of the important works that the government has been doing to support our residents and Caymanians alike. Just personally, I want to extend again a great big heartfelt thank you specifically to the Needs Assessment Team under the Ministry of Community Affairs. I'm talking specifically to the 31 dedicated NEU staff who have been working tirelessly since this pandemic began, as well as to the 19 persons who have been redeployed to assist with NEU and providing the services. Likewise, the Department of Children and Family Services. I want to highlight again the stellar leadership being provided by Paulinda Mendoza-Williams. I want to again continue to express my heartfelt thanks to the Chief Officer of the Ministry of Community Affairs, Ms. Teresa Echeniki, as well as the Deputy Chief Officer, who is also filling the role of Interim Director of the Needs Assessment Unit, Ms. Joan Dakers-West. There are three fantastic ladies that I have the honor and pleasure to work with on a daily basis. They continue to do tremendous work leading a dynamic team of individuals who are absolutely dedicated, but likewise across the civil service. I mean, I came into this thing, brand new. 3.5 years ago. From the outside, you hear the rumors that, the public servants are this, public servants are that. But let me tell you, they have performed absolutely top-notch. The Deputy Governor should be pleased with his world-class civil service. I have seen tremendous levels of sacrifice, tremendous levels of dedication. Everyone has been working happily, fulfilling, obviously, the government's priority of saving lives. And I just want to express my heartfelt thanks to the government workers, those in public sector, but also likewise, as we continue to say, the relief services that are being provided by private sector, civil society. Believe me, they don't go unnoticed. They certainly are beneficial and certainly enable the government to focus on our Caymanian needs, which continue to grow on a daily basis. For the members of the public who are accessing services, I continue to ask for your continued patience. There are no sinister reasons why your applications are being delayed, but 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, it is because information is lacking. We encourage you to provide the right information. We encourage you, if you've got questions, you can call NEU, you can email NEU. The numbers have been provided. I've left those details with OC. If you didn't get them the first time, call Mr. OC here, and he'll be happy to provide it to you. Lastly, sir, I will commit to you again to provide further clarification on the construction industry and what will be reopening as soon as I have it, and I will share those details with you. But as always, I thank you and your listeners for the very enjoyable and hopefully informative session that we had this morning.
It certainly was informative, very informative. We want to thank you for such a comprehensive update on what's happening throughout government as well. Folks, I just want to say to you, please stay safe. Have a great day. I believe there's a press briefing today, Ms. Susan. Is there a press briefing today as well? And join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for talk today. God bless the Cayman Islands. Continue to bless us richly.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates.
FIS MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide. MoneyGram, bringing you closer. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And Fidelity Bank. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Today